As someone who is always doing research for the YouTube videos I make, I happen to spend a lot of time on sportsreference.com, just scrolling, looking through a lot of college football teams' history. It's a great website, and I recommend any of you who just want an easy way to look through any team of your choice's history to check it out. This sounds like an ad, but it's not. I just mentioned this because in my 2 years of creating college football content on YouTube, I've looked over hundreds of football teams' history, but one of them that always kind of stood out to me was the Northwestern Wildcats. Why? Well, because when you look through their 130 plus years of playing college football, you find a lot of 1-win seasons, even more 2-win seasons, and this is not me being dramatic saying this, but even a handful of 4-win seasons. It's no secret that the Wildcats have been one of the more below average college football programs, boasting a winning percentage of .444, ranking them 118th out of 138 Division I football programs as far as winning percentage goes. Which is why whenever I take a peek at the Wildcats' history, which is surprisingly a lot more than you'd think, their 1995 season where they would shock the entire college football world, contending with Blue Bloods and even looking like a serious threat to win the national title, always stood out to me. I mean, how could it not? And for the longest time, I've been thinking of doing a video on them, but for some reason I never did, until not too long ago I received a comment on one of my videos asking me to cover them, and it just made sense. So here we are today taking a look at one of the greatest underdog stories in college football history, the 1995 Northwestern Wildcats. Man, where do we begin this video? Well, I guess it makes sense to go back 2 decades before the season we are covering today, where no joke, Northwestern was probably one of the worst college football programs in all of the country. From 1975 until 1985, the Wildcats would struggle to eclipse the 3-win mark. And no, that's not me trying to be funny. Northwestern wouldn't win more than 3 games during those 10 years I just mentioned, which is kind of incredible when you think about it. Going 3-8 in 1975, 1-10 in 76 and 77, 0 wins in 1978. Don't worry, they would bounce back in 1979 going 1-10. 1980 and 1981 were dark times for Northwestern football, not winning a game at all in those 2 years. However, they get back to the Wildcats standard, finishing the 1982 season 3-8, followed by back-to-back 2-9 seasons in 1983 and 1984, and finally in 1985, Northwestern would go 3-8. The next 10 years wouldn't be any easier for the Purple Cats, with their most wins in that decade being 4, and even having another brutal winless season in 1989. I could go on and on about how ass the University of Northwestern football has been before the 1995 season we are taking a deeper look into today, but it's important to paint a picture of just where this program was and why it makes 1995 such an anomaly of a season. Which is also why I completely understand why the consensus for most media outlets coming into the 1995 college football season was that Northwestern was going to be a bottom feeder once again in the Big Ten, as most outlets had them finishing dead last or at best second to last in the Big Ten Conference. And that sounds about right. This Wildcats roster was nearly identical from the one they had in 1994 when they went 3-7-1. How could the same group of guys make such a huge jump? We'll find out as the video goes on, but first let's actually take a look at some of the key figures a part of this roster who were responsible for maybe the greatest turnaround season in Big Ten history. Leading the program in his 4th year up to that point at head coach, we have Gary Barnett, who really had this Wildcat defense playing at an all-time historical level, as they would only allow 12.7 points per game, which would rank first in the entire country. Which is just brilliant. In '94, they finished the season with the 92nd ranked scoring defense, giving up 31.9 points per game. They jumped literally 92 spots in just one offseason. Since I'm already glazing the defense, I guess I should start there and highlight some of the key players. Beginning with defensive back Chris Martin, who'd lock down receivers all season while picking off opposing QBs 5 times during the '95 season. In safety, Hudifa Ismaili, who was a playmaker all over the field, being named an All-American in 1995. Diving into the trenches, we have 2 huge D-linemen, Matt Rice, who stuffed the run and gave quarterbacks problems, finishing the season with several sacks, and Casey Daly, who'd lead this elite defense in both sacks and tackles for losses. To wrap up this defense, we have to finish with the heart and soul of the 1995 Northwestern Wildcats, their linebacker core. Barry Gardner, Danny Suter, Tim Scharf, and finally the college football legend himself, Pat Fitzgerald, who'd finished the 1995 season with more hardware than ace, being a consensus All-American, winning the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year award, the Chuck Bednarik Award, and the Bronco Narguski Award, cementing him as one of the best defensive players in the country. I assumed that with such a legendary defense, there was no way the Northwestern offensive players could stand out, and honestly was thinking before doing research for this video that they were just kind of along for the ride getting carried. I was super wrong, but unlike my girl, I can admit it. This unit had some studs and would average 25.4 points per game, which was dead average, ranking them 51st for scoring offense, but when you have the number 1 defense in the country, 25 points will do the trick more times than not. And with an elite defense, that means your quarterback just has to manage games and not lose them for you. Meet quarterback and game manager extraordinaire, Steve Schnoor, who passed for 1,456 yards and 9 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. He wasn't asked to do much, but what made him so valuable was what he didn't do, which was make careless and reckless mistakes. Especially since Northwestern had such a strong running game, led by their workhorse Darnell Autry, rushing for 1,675 yards and 14 touchdowns, totaling 376 plays from scrimmage, which would rank first in the country. I told you he was a workhorse running back, but he was also a prize horse running back, finishing 4th in the Heisman voting and concluding the '95 season as an All-American. This offense went as far as Darnell Autry took them. To wrap up this Northwestern offense, there was one wideout I want to shout out, and that's Dwayne Bates, who was this team's go-to wideout whenever they needed a chunk play downfield, catching 42 passes for 744 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, there's one more All-American from this '95 Wildcat team that I want to mention, kicker Sam Valenci. Northwestern would begin the 1995 college football season matching up against God, as the Wildcats would be traveling to South Bend, Indiana, to stare touchdown Jesus in the eye and face off versus the 9th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This game was already chalked up as a loss by the wider college football world, as the Irish would be favored by 27 points. I'm just drooling at the thought of how much $10 would have made me if I took Northwestern to win with the total being under.
Doesn't mean gambling addiction isn't real.
I need help. The Wildcats stood zero chance, and to add to the bad omens, Northwestern was riding an incredible streak that I kind of have a lot of respect for, not winning a season opener since 1975. 20 years of losing your season opener? Yeah, it would take Touchdown Jesus himself joining the Wildcats for them to stand any chance of taking down one of the biggest brands in all of college football, the 9th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
The bricks of venerable Notre Dame Stadium sold out for the 119th consecutive game. On a beautiful September Saturday afternoon, the Irish opening their season against the Wildcats of Northwestern. Notre Dame make their appearance from the Big Ten. The Northwestern Wildcats looking for that elusive season opening game. The Irish will kick it off. The kick from the freshman Kevin Kupka with Ismaili and Autry, the deep man, and that's Ismaili from the 5. Gaza Lane just hit, bounces off a couple of tacklers, and fumble by Kinder, the ball loose. The Wildcats think they have it, and they do. Hartle's the motion man. Autry again, behind the block, gets the corner, turns up the sideline, and is wrestled out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Pass, corner of the end zone, caught for the touchdown. Dave Beasley outrunning Alvin Wilson for the Northwestern score. Hollis has his man, Farmer, drops short of the first down. Pat Fitzgerald again makes a big defensive play, and Ray Rooney got a piece too. On the first series that led to the Northwestern touchdown. Swing it to Kinder. Hit in the backfield. Good reaction by the Northwestern defense. Northwestern is 2 of 5 on 3rd and long today. And they convert this one as the catch is made by Musso. The Wildcats will try it from 37 yards. And he nailed it. Touchdown. Second down, Northwestern. Autry again. Pull well. Hartle's in motion. Fake to Autry. Schnorr rifles it. Complete to Bates. Touchdown. Point you and John Dockery made some time ago. Here's the blitz. And Mays catches it, but only for Kinder. Play the game. We're going to try to run it with Kinder, and he is stopped home. Legion Swedish and Northwestern flags proudly. They'll be waving there tonight as Autry is stopped again.
On the other side of the coin, on Notre Dame's side of the coin, you've still got the same problems. A lot of pressure on Ron Paulus. Sacked 4 times, only 1 receiver to go to. Derek Mays, they ran the ball at times well, but to give up almost 100 and What does Autry have? 157 yards rushing against this?
Northwestern would shock the world and end a 20-year-long streak, defeating the 9th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish on the road 17-15. Northwestern jumped out to an early lead on a 6-yard touchdown pass, letting everyone know that this year would be different in regards to Wildcat football. The Irish were always one step behind, as every time they would claw within striking distance, Northwestern would shut them down on the defensive side of the ball, making it nearly impossible for Notre Dame to gain any type of momentum. Steve Schnurr managed the game like an Amazon warehouse supervisor, limiting the risk while maximizing profits, passing for 2 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. To be honest though, a manager's job is always easy when you have your reliable blue-collar best worker, Darnell Autry, rushing for a cool 160 yards and a defense making life hell on the opposing team's quarterback. Both sides of the ball played great, but even with all of that being said, Northwestern still needed to make a lot of timely key plays to win this ball game, and every time the number was called, they answered and executed. The Northwestern Wildcats were now 1-0, and after taking down the 9th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish, would find themselves ranked inside of the top 25 for the first time since 1971, seeing themselves humbly sitting at the 25th spot. After the huge win on the road, Northwestern would get to come back home and play a winnable game against Miami, Ohio, getting a chance to tune up a little more before the grind that is Big Ten play began. As expected, Northwestern would jump out to a huge lead, leading 28-7 heading into the fourth quarter. Then disaster would strike as the Redhawks would start to climb their way back in the game. The score would be 27-28, and Miami, Ohio would elect to go for the winner on a 2-point conversion. Northwestern would stop them, but on a punt during the following drive, a botched snap would lead to Miami, Ohio recovering the ball within field goal range and kicking the game-winning field goal to upset Northwestern 30-28. This loss was ugly, and it definitely hurt, because there is no way this team with this defense should ever let a team come back being down 3 scores. However, when looking deeper, you'll realize the Northwestern long snapper responsible for punts and field goals would get injured early into this game, meaning a defensive lineman would have to take over long snapping duties. And it just so turns out 10 points would be scored off mistakes made on special teams. The aftermath of this loss would be immediate, as the Chicago Tribune would write back to reality, Miami, Ohio 30, Northwestern 28. Damn, that's cold. And at a time when everyone could have been pointing fingers and blaming each other for an opportunity squandered, this 1995 Northwestern football team instead decided to make a vow that they were not okay with business as usual and things going as it always does for this program. That this year would be different and what happened versus Miami, Ohio would never happen again. And they were spot on, putting belt to ass on Air Force the week after making the decision that 1995 was going to be a different type of season for the Wildcats, winning 30-6 and then following that up with another dominant win against Big Ten bottom feeder Indiana 31-7. Excuse me, let me chill, I cannot say that anymore. It sounds super weird saying this out loud, but I love the fact that it's a real thing. But now in 2026, Indiana is low-key a powerhouse. Anyway, after bouncing back after their tough loss to Miami, Ohio, the AP would throw the Wildcats a bone, or maybe a piece of fish, ranking them 25th in their Week 7 top 25 polls. Northwestern was back, and that promise they made to each other was starting to seem like the real deal. Well, until their next game where they would be faced with the task of traveling to a football cathedral, the Big House, and facing off against the 5-0 7th-ranked Michigan Wolverines. What the Wildcats have been through so far this season was definitely motivating, and enough to make even the most nonchalant dreadhead scream, hell yeah, brother. But this was Michigan we were talking about here. Michigan, the most winningest college football program of all time, a team that plays football on a palace that sits over 100,000 in blue and maize. Hell, I'm sure there was plenty of players on this Wildcat football team whose hometown didn't even have over 50,000. Vegas had the Wolverines heavily favored, and you don't go against Vegas, right? As well as Michigan holding a 19-game winning streak over Northwestern's head. All the data pointed to Michigan winning once again versus Northwestern. Let's all be real though. Do you think any of these lunch pail tough SOBs that played ball for Northwestern gave a damn about data and statistics?
Gary Barnett and a resurgent Northwestern team, 3-1, the first time they've had a 3-1 record since 1963. And you can see the last time they won at Michigan, Elvis was just starting to swivel his hips. Northwestern won the toss and deferred, and Lloyd Carr's Michigan Wolverines will touch it first as he huddles his troops around him. And Amani Tuller will shag it at the goal line and bring it out. Trying to cut to the outside and got the corner. Nice job, though. Balazizi, the count of 10. Yakabatuka's got an opening, and he's into the secondary. Tamunga Yakabatuka waits for his blockers, cuts back inside the 25. He might take it all the way to the 15 from the left hash. And Michigan adds to its lead, but Hamdorf has plenty of time. Deep in the middle. Got his man. It's Waterman at the 10-yard line. Straight field goals. 8 straight field goals. Northwestern would have won on 4th down and 3. Greasy fires. Almost intercepted. Somebody got a hand. Snap clean. End over end punt. Toomer waits on it. Fair catch, and he dropped the ball. Northwestern covered it. Valancizi to try to tie it before halftime. Whoops. Somebody got a piece of it, but it goes through. Last week, he's in the backfield now, a 2nd and 4, and gets the call, and that's why they're excited. Clarence Williams, all the way to the 3. Had that stat for first quarter, too, and Michigan changed it. Greasy on a bootleg. Might keep it. To the end zone, touchdown. He says he just loves talking football with. Here he comes off play action. High throw, intercepted. Collier's got it. Collier comes near side on the pick, and he goes out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Second turnover. Northwestern.
I'm going to run the ball.
Play action. Open is Hartle. Touchdown. Play action for Schnurr.
He's got Bates.
Going deep for Bates, and he's got it. All the way to the 5-yard line. Quite hash mark, but this could put Northwestern up by 6. He's got it. 8 minutes and 40. 4th and 15. They're going to bring it again. Greasy hit as he throws. It is intercepted by Bennett. Greasy still down. Fitzgerald hit him again.
Looks like Northwestern wasn't joking around when they said it wouldn't happen again, as they would upset the 7th-ranked Michigan Wolverines on the road 19-13. Michigan dominated this game on the ground, rushing for about 250 yards. The Wolverines were getting whatever they wanted in the rushing game, but whenever it was time for them to put the ball in the end zone, the Northwestern defense would hunker down, only allowing Michigan to score one measly touchdown. It also helped that this Wildcat defense only allowed quarterback Brian Grease to throw for 96 yards on 34 attempts with 2 interceptions. Even with saying all of that, Northwestern would have to get the job done on offense, and they would, as Darnell Autry would rush for 100 on the dot, Dwayne Bates would catch some huge passes going for 60 yards, even having one that led to the field goal that would put the game away, and quarterback Steve Schnurr playing clean football and tossing the game-winning touchdown in the 4th quarter on a huge 3rd and goal. Another historical win for Northwestern football, and for their efforts they would move up 11 spots in the Week 8 AP polls, sitting ranked as the 14th best team in the country. Northwestern was in a new position and faced a problem Northwestern had never really faced in their school's history. As of now, they went from being the underdogs almost every game, doing the hunting, to becoming the team who other schools wanted to knock off if they got the chance to face off with them. And that's exactly what Minnesota plans to do in their Week 8 game versus the Wildcats, jumping out to an early 14-3 lead, looking like they could possibly pull off the upset versus the Wildcats. Until Darnell Autry would take over the game, rushing for an 18-yard touchdown in the 2nd, an 11-yard TD run late in the 3rd, and finally to put the game away, a 73-yard touchdown run in the 4th, giving Northwestern the 27-17 win. Darnell Autry was on one this game, rushing for 169 yards and 3 touchdowns, making his impact felt in their conference win over the Gophers. Carrying the momentum over in their next conference game, Northwestern would destroy the 24th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers, shutting them out 35-0. This matchup, if I can even call it that, was just one of those days for Wisconsin, as they would turn the ball over 7 times, and by now, as I'm sure everyone watching this video knows, you don't turn the ball over against this Wildcats football team 7 times and live to tell the tale. 6-1 now ranked as the 8th best team in the country, Northwestern, while not having to leave the state for their next game, was still going to be on the road matching up versus Illinois. Just like versus Minnesota, Illinois would jump out to an early lead, going up 14-0 on an awkward throw that would bounce around, falling into an Illini receiver's hands, leading to a touchdown for Illinois. The Wildcats would respond, as wide receiver Dwayne Bates would catch a huge 43-yard touchdown pass to cut the lead to 4. Northwestern's defense would keep Illinois scoreless for the rest of the match, meaning just one more touchdown would seal the deal. And of course it would be team offensive MVP Darnell Autry to score the game-winning touchdown on a 1-yard rush to secure the win over Illinois 17-14. After another close call, Northwestern would see themselves ranked as the 6th best college football team in the entire country, their highest ranking since all the way back in 1963. And at this point in the season, Northwestern was a legit threat to possibly win the college football national championship. Of course, a couple more teams would have to lose for that to even be a possibility, but come on, the fact that it was even a possibility is absurd enough in its own right. However, a Big Ten title, on the other hand, was the Wildcats to lose, and there was probably only one more team left on the Wildcats' schedule that could potentially take them down, and that was the 12th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions, who just so happened to be Northwestern's next opponent. The good news was they got them at home. The bad news was Penn State was the preseason favorites to win the conference title, and they were one of the big dogs of the college football world. And knowing them, I'm sure they would love to remind the little Wildcats why they were considered a blue blood college football program.
ABC Sports College Football presents the Big Ten matchup between the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Northwestern Wildcats. And here they are, the Northwestern Northwestern Wildcats, the story of the year so far in college football. A collection of Walter Middies who have unsettled the norm in the Big Ten Conference. Their seats in Dyke Stadium with rumps in them for the first time in a dozen years. They're having so much fun, there was a sign last week that read, "Let's go back to losing. Parking was easier." Northwestern's receivers are Adrian Autry and Josh Barnes, 32 and 17. And in case you haven't seen the new unis of Northwestern, they're black on top and purple on the bottom. And here we go with Autry. Adrian comes to the 25, out to the 26-yard line in takeaway. 29%, however, on third down conversions, but they make that one look easy and goal for Northwestern. It's Autry again, bouncing outside, touchdown. Down for 3/4, eventually you're going to get whooped. That's what they did in Seattle. Richardson rolling out, pulls it down and takes off. He had a chance to pick up his first down, but he waited too long.
Groups of recruiting classes here to work with.
Autry gets inside, touchdown. Northwestern, great run by Autry. Richardson's going to throw it. Lets it go for Bobby Ingram, and Ingram coming across has it intercepted by Chris Martin, and Chris Martin brings it back down the side. This reads pass, and it is. Richardson throws it, touchdown. Here's the punt by Kenya, and it takes a Penn State bounce and keeps on rolling, and the Nittany Lions will, did it touch a fit? It did! It touched a Wildcat. Goes in motion. And Richardson rolls. Nobody to throw the ball to. Conway checks in. They put it down at the 14. 24-yard. Vicious is in the lineup. Bigger target. Taller man. Richardson has completed 7 straight.
Go for the fade. There it is.
Stop beyond the end zone. Ball thrown beyond the field of play. Missed it. Got a double reverse going here with Dave Beasley carrying the ball and picking up. Take his own mark.
It's kind of dark down here in this end of the end zone, isn't it?
It looks
Look
like
at the field.
these are portable lights. This is Autry. Just short. 2 touchdowns already, and he may have 3 here, but he won't get it on this play because his fullback had moved forward. Offside, however, is called against Penn State. So the fullback did not get the flag. The touchdown stand. Autry has. That's where it turned.
The holding penalty, then the sack, then the missed field goal.
Yep. All of it added up. Look, they will. Richardson got away from one man. Here comes Martin. He didn't get away from him.
And the chemistry and the family and the belief of Northwestern this year has been special.
Richardson throws the pass and completes it behind the line of scrimmage. Is the team that pulled off that big upset last week. Don't have to step it. Here comes the crowd. Now can they keep the crowd off the field, or are they even going to try? Lynn Swan racing over to get a hold of Gary Barnett and try to talk to him. Joe Paterno meeting with Barnett in the center of the field. And they come storming down out of the stadium to help join in the celebration. And they are climbing the goalpost, honey. I told you they would. Your final score, 21-10, and here's Lynn Swan with Gary Barnett.
Northwestern left no doubt in their 21-10 win over 12th-ranked Penn State, dominating them in the trenches, only allowing them to total 232 yards. While on the flip, Darnell Autry would leave his fingerprints all over this game once again, leaving it all on the gridiron, rushing for 139 yards and scoring all 3 of Northwestern's touchdowns in this historic win for the Northwestern Wildcats. This huge win would only boost the Wildcats up 1 spot in the following AP polls, moving them from number 6 to the 5th spot in the country. But more importantly, with only 2 more games left in their 1995 schedule versus Iowa and Purdue, if they could win their last 2 games, then Northwestern would at the very least tie for the conference title with Ohio State. Ohio State, while currently undefeated, still had to play Michigan, so there was a slim possibility if everything went right that Northwestern could win the Big Ten title outright for the first time in 60-plus freaking years. Northwestern would take down their last two remaining foes on their regular season 1995 schedule, winning against Iowa 31-20 in a pretty ugly game that would see Northwestern trailing at certain points, but this team never gave up. It would be a punt return and fumble return that would actually propel them to victory, which is just probably the most 1995 Northwestern football thing I could have possibly said. Iowa gave the Wildcats a little bit of a fight. Purdue, on the other hand, not so much, as Northwestern would run a train on them, winning 23-8, and just when you think Darnell Autry couldn't get any more dominant, in the last game of the regular season, he rushes for 226 yards. So I have good news and bad news. Which one do y'all want first? Let's go with the bad. So the bad news was that this team's heart and soul and one of the best defensive players in college football history, Pat Fitzgerald, suffered a broken leg versus Iowa and unfortunately would not be able to finish the season. Just a thought I need to get off my chest really quick, but man, I wish he could have finished out the season. I feel like we would have got to see the best version of them in the Rose Bowl and so on. And speaking of Rose Bowl, which I guess I just spoiled, but I think we all knew. Anyway, here's the good news. The second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes would lose in their final game of the season to 18th-ranked Michigan, meaning Northwestern were outright Big Ten champions for the 1995 season. And what does every Big Ten champion get to do? Play in the Rose Bowl, as third-ranked Northwestern would be matching off in the granddaddy of them all versus 17th-ranked USC. But before we hop into the Wildcats' final game of the 1995 college football season, I do have to give a big shout out to Coach Gary Barnett winning the Big Ten Coach of the Year award and also taking home the AFCA and FWAA Coach of the Year award. All well deserved, as what him and this group of afterthoughts did during the 1995 college football season was nothing short of a miracle on ice, or turf. 10-1, ranked as the number 3 team in the country, there was only one thing left for Northwestern to do: cap off this historical season by winning the Rose Bowl.
ABC Sports College Football presents the 50th Rose Bowl game matching the Big Ten and the Pac-10, the Southern California Trojans and the Northwestern Wildcats. The original bowl game being played in your perfect conditions today from Birmingham, Alabama, wearing the purple of Northwestern, and he hits it solid and drives it a yard deep into the end zone to Johnson. The great wide receiver from USC is taken down. And back goes up. Underneath. Pass is completed to the tight end, Johnny.
Got him in the air and then threw around him.
They go back to the run. Lavelle. Autry to the corner. Touchdown. Got all day, now throws, man wide open, touchdown, Terry Barnum. That ball is thrown into the hands of Brian Musso, and he fumbles as he goes down. It's picked up by the Trojans, and on the way is Dalen McCutcheon, and it's touchdown.
The only problem with that is you're out here for 2 weeks, and that changes up your whole system. You're staying in a hotel room, and there's a turnover.
Northwestern got it. No, this is from what did it on the 19 yards, so it'll be 29 yards. 3rd and 7 for the Wildcats. Pass down the middle is complete to Musso. This time Brian.
He went after the ball. Should have picked it off.
Brian Goins in for a field goal try from the 18. A 28-yard try is good. All right, here's the kickoff by the Wildcats. They go onside.
They got it.
They got it at the 47-yard line. Josh, the last time they were down on the 9, 1st and goal. This time they give it to Darnell Autry, and he's working down the corner. Touchdown. He's got it. He's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Trojans. Beasley in motion. And Schnurr gives it. No, he kept it. He wants to go big with it. Down the middle of the field for Dwayne Bates, and he caught it. What a...
Going to be standing after today.
Schnurr goes quarterback sneak. This time he... The final quarter. Schnurr back, little quick pop. Good for the first down. It's Musso. Brian Musso pounding his way inside the 15, and finally... And it's Darnell Autry. Touchdown. Lead. Good. Washington over the top. Touchdown. 4th down and 10, so they'll go for the field goal. That gives them a chance for an onside kick. This is a 49-yard try. It's big. And he hit the upright. No good. I mean, that's mean. At 35 seconds to play, it hits the upright. Well, it's over. Yep.